and going to go ahead and get ready to get started on our webinar today. I have a lot to show you guys, so much so that it's just going to be the tip of the iceberg, but let's go ahead and jump right in. So the goal today is to, talk a little bit about the challenges in BI today, and then we can jump in and do a little bit of looking at some of the new tools from Microsoft with SQL Reporting Services 2016. So that's kind of your on-premise reporting tool. And then as well as BI on the go, how can you make some mobile reports and use devices when you're on the go, as well as BI from anywhere to everywhere. So utilizing powerbi.com to grab data from all over the place and be able to look at reports and analyze that data from any device. So jumping into this, so what are our challenges today? So the first challenge obviously is on-premise or in the cloud. So whether your data is a Dynamics GP accounting system that's on-premise at your company, or you're using maybe a software as a service product such as Salesforce or Microsoft CRM Online, we want to be able to have reports that can pull all that data to get together and maybe even combine that data together and present that to users and let them see those reports. Data from different sources, so different sources could be anything from a SQL database, maybe it's on-premise, it could be a software as a service, so maybe we're accessing data through web services or REST services, or even Excel files. You have a data analyst who's put together a great Excel file, but you want to do some reporting on that, on those numbers and things that he has in that Excel spreadsheet. You can use that as a data source as well. So we have data coming from multiple places. So that's a challenge. How do we bring all that together in one report or one dashboard to see and compare and analyze the data? And then we connect in different ways. So everybody, some people have laptops, people might be on the go. As an executive, I might want to see how my sales are doing by just looking at my phone, things like that, or even from a tablet when you're sitting on a plane. So we all connect in different ways now, so we need ways to see all that different data from different devices. But then multiplicity, we want it now. So again, multiple devices. Everybody has a laptop or an iPad or some other tablet or even different types of phones, whether it's an Android phone or an iPhone. Multiple browsers now. Not everybody's using Internet Explorer. There's also Edge, there's Chrome, and different types of browsers, and from different types of machines as well, whether it's a Mac or even a Windows-based machine. And then multiple formats. Not everybody wants to see everything in just a tabular kind of report listed out where you kind of have to mine through the data to find the answers you want. Sometimes we just want to see a KPI, or we want to see the data represented in a chart fashion so that you can quickly pick out the peaks and the valleys or see the trends. So we want to see the data in multiple different formats. And then multiple questions. The biggest challenge I've always found is in developing reports is I'll make a report for one person and they'll be great, this report's great, but then another person will come along and run that report, but they'll have a different question. So do you tweak that report, or is there a way to make that report such that it can answer multiple questions at the same time? So people always have different questions. You think what you want isn't always going to be the same thing that somebody else wants. So we always have lots of different questions about our data, and we want to give people the facility to answer those questions on their own sometimes without having to go back to a developer or the IT department to get a new report created to answer another question. So how do we get it? So the Microsoft BI platform is been in play for many years, but they keep making improvements every year. So one of the biggest improvements right now is in SQL Reporting Services 2016, and we'll jump into a demo on that and see some of the new features there. Power BI Desktop and PowerBI.com, this gives you your ability to actually do BI in the cloud and actually do a lot more diving into analytics with PowerBI.com. Power BI Desktop is more of your tool to actually develop those reports and analytics. And surprisingly, you don't have to be a developer to do this. With Power BI Desktop, you can make reports doing drag and drop and all that sort of thing. It's really, really easy to use. As well as SharePoint. So A lot of people, we use SharePoint for intranets. We use it to collaborate documentation, stuff like that. But with SQL reporting services and Power BI, you can actually embed reports and dashboards into SharePoint and collaborate and see all that reporting at your fingertips. And then Excel 2016 is not going to go away. We all know Excel is a powerful tool. Everybody likes to use it for financial analytics and really dive in and do what you want to the data. But how can we leverage what people use do in Excel? How can we leverage that to collaborate and make other reports that people can see and share that work that people have done in Excel? So we'll jump into that as well. So with that, I'm going to try and do a lot more demo today. I only have an hour, so it's only going to be the tip of the iceberg. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the features of SQL reporting services, and then I'll do a demo real quick. So what's new? Mobile reports, that's the biggest thing. Obviously, I think the biggest challenge we've always had with SQL reporting services is the fact that you can't use it mobile. So you have to go back into your office, VPN in, get on your desktop, and go run the reports. So they've added mobile reports to SQL 2016. They've modernized the look and feel, which is great. Added more rich tools for doing analytics, some additional charts and graphs and things like that. Enhanced analysis gives you more ability to look at the data and analyze the data using drop downs and things like that. And hybrid BI, so this is more about the mobile versus the tablet versus the desktop, so really gives you lots of different options there with your BI. And of course, SQL 2016 is going to be compatible with SharePoint 2016 as well, so you can do your embedded reports in SharePoint. So what are some of the changes? So on-premise reporting, so paginator reports, you still have that. You can do your tabular reports and things like that, and some really simple charts and graphs and that sort of thing. Added the ability to do mobile reports, so any form factor, whether it's a tablet or a phone. And the new web portal, which is huge. It's really not just showing paginator reports, but we can show the mobile reports on there as well as some KPIs. And the best thing about it is it's all HTML5 compatible now. When we get into the paginator reports, still pretty much the same way we've always made reports, but they modernized everything, so the look and feels are more modern with the colors and the layout and the look and feel. So they've modernized everything. They've added some new great chart types on SQL reporting services now. So a tree map, really gives you the ability it divides a chart area into rectangles, and then those rectangles can represent different levels of your data and sizes of your hierarchy and that sort of thing. And each rectangle can be broken down into smaller levels. So if you have a hierarchical data set, such as maybe a chart of accounts or something like that, or maybe territories, sales territories, where you're going from maybe country to state to zip code, that sort of thing, you can easily represent that with a tree map. As well as a sunburst chart, which is very similar, but it's more of a circular chart, which kind of looks almost like a tree, where the inner level is the highest level of your hierarchy, and as you go out in the tree or out in the circle, you drill down into the lower levels of the hierarchy. Report Builder's been updated, the look and feel, as well as having Visual Studio 2015 support. So the great thing is Report Builder is very easy to use. You just download it, install it, it's free, comes with SQL 2016. You also have the Visual Studio 2015 support, as well as SQL data tools to make reports. And the tools all work very similar, so you can pretty much pick up one and use the other very quickly. And then the biggest one, always our challenges, has always been the printing from SQL reporting services. So I know a lot of you out there probably run into that instance where you try and go and print a report from SQL reporting services, and next thing you know, you realize you don't have permission to install the ActiveX control that's required to do printing. So that's all been remedied now. It basically prints to a PDF, and PDF prints to the printer, that sort of thing. So they've made it work across all browsers, and you don't have to worry about any sort of security issues with your IT or anything like that, not having the ability to install the ActiveX control, which is very old technology. One of the other great new features of SRS is customizing the parameter layout. So one of the things we've always run into as developers and doing reports is you only have two columns, and the width of those columns is predefined. You can't change it. So if you have a certain flow that you want your parameters to have, or if you have a combo box maybe with some values in it that needs to be wider because you can't see everything, now you can customize the layout. So you can position parameters across more than two columns or less than two columns. Anything you want, make them as wide as you want. You can choose the position of each parameter so you can move them around now, and it's all just drag and drop, and you can create spaces between them, that sort of thing. So you can really organize the flow of the parameters to fit what you're asking the user when they're running a report. And again, here's, as you can see, here's our old SQL Reporting Services reporting portal. You know, it's built on older technology. You pull this up in different browsers. It doesn't quite look like this. It will look different unless you're using IE. So they've, you know, designed the new portal for modern browsers to work across all browsers, whether it's Chrome or IE or Edge or anything like that. It's all made in HTML5 technology, which is great. As you can also see, there's some additional features here now with KPIs, mobile reports, things like that. The rest of it works pretty much the same way you've always been accustomed to. It just has a cleaned up look and feel, more modern, that sort of thing. And then the other big change is now you can custom brand your reporting portal. So you don't have to say SQL Reporting Services up there. You can actually put the name of your company up there, use a logo. You can have the color palette be the colors of your company, that sort of thing. So as an example, here's an Xbox screen where they replaced the look and feel of the web portal with Xbox and green colors and that sort of thing. One of the other things we're starting to do more of now is really bridging that gap between on-premise reporting, SQL Reporting Services, and Power BI. Power BI is really, you know, one of the best BI tools out there. It's great for analytics, doing dashboards and things like that. So we'll jump into that a little bit later in the webinar. Just give you a high-level overview. But some of the great things you can do now is you can actually monitor your most important metrics and trends in one place. So the idea being is if you developed a bunch of different reports, and you have charts and graphs and all these different reports, whether it's sales in one place and maybe some metrics from inventory in another place, you can actually pin these charts and graphs up to Power BI onto your own dashboard. So the dashboard on Power BI can have these charts and graphs from your different reports. And then as you look at those details and you want to get more information about that chart, you can actually click on the charts and drill through to the source report. So it really gives the best of both worlds where you can see everything in one place, but if you need to get more information, you can drill down to the originating report. So if you want to know where numbers came from that are all summarized in a KPI or something like that, drill through to the source report and see all the detail behind it. And then, of course, these can also be refreshed. So the tiles can be refreshed on a schedule. So they're pretty up to date with your most current numbers. So let's go ahead and jump into a demo here. And what I'm going to go ahead and do first thing is I'm going to go ahead and I need to make, they've come to me and asked me to make an expenditures report where for my organization that I sell bikes at AdventureWorks. It's, any of you as a developer out there is probably very familiar with AdventureWorks. It's a common dev play database that Microsoft provides for, and they sell bikes and things like that. So what I'm doing here is on the left side, I've already started a tree map showing the expenditures of accounts and at the level 1, as you can see there. But what I want to do is I want to show in a sunburst chart, I'm going to break that down even further so I can see more details about each level. So what I'm going to do is I've already created the data set, so I have all my data sets here on the left. So all I need to do now is just basically right click and do insert chart. And I'm going to go ahead and select a sunburst chart. And I can just easily drag and size it. And this is using Report Builder, so you can see it's a pretty updated, clean interface. And it has the same look and feel as a lot of the many other development tools now, so which is great. So there's my sunburst chart. So before I get into that, I forgot to cover here, at the top you can now see all the parameters. So see how the parameters are going across here at the top. So I want to reorganize this to make it a little bit flow a little better and that sort of thing. So I can easily just now drag my parameters around. So I've dragged my dates down to the next row, but then I want to also drag department group down so I can easily add a row. So I'll insert a row below, and then I can drag my department group down there, and then I just need to delete these columns here. And that's how easy it is. Just drag and drop. You can manipulate everything, move everything around. So very, very easy. So let's get back to our chart here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and update the title. And we're going to call it expenditures. Oops. Expenditures account hierarchy. I have a little typo there, okay. And then I also need to change the font size. It's a little small, so we'll just click on that, click title properties, and we can easily increase the font size. And now what we'll do is once we've done that, we need to bind our data to the data set. So I already have my data set over here that I created, my main data set. So I'm going to go ahead and for my values, I'm going to put in the amount. And then for my categories, this is where I want all of my different levels for the sunburst chart to be. So I'm going to add all my different levels here. So I have 3 levels of data. And then for my series, I'm also going to put in level 1 as well there. So now you can see here's my sunburst chart. So now what I also want to do is I want to show my data labels so they appear there. And then I also need to format these. So I'm going to go ahead and go into series label properties, and I'm going to go ahead and format these so I'm only showing in the thousands, otherwise it'll be too wide for the chart. And now what we want to do is I'm going to do a little cheat sheet here. I want to add more information as I hover over these cells. So I'm going to go into each one of these category group properties, and I'm going to update my label here with some text. So I'm just adding some additional text into here for my label to show more information. So I'll do that for each level. We'll go to the last category. Update that as well. Okay, so that's about it. So I can run this here in my report builder and see what it looks like. Looks pretty good, I think. And you can see here I hovered over 388 here, and I can see it's operating expenses 388,000. And as I hovered over it again, see if it comes up here. And I can see labor expenses make up 318,000 of that 388, which is 50% of the total when I look at the whole thing. So now I like this. This looks great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to design here, and I'm going to go ahead and now just save this up to my portal. So I'll just click Save As, Recent Sites, and I'll go into my Enverge demo, and I'm going to go ahead and save my organizational expenditures report up there. So now let's go ahead and jump over to the web portal. If I refresh this, you'll see here's my new report that was just added there. And if I run this report, you'll see it still looks the same as it came up. Here I can hover over the values and see the values as I hover over. Some additional things that I want to point out here. First thing is, of course, printing. So printing is a big thing. I talked about it earlier. If I click print now, it's automatically going to not ask me for an ActiveX control, and it will give me a preview, and I also can go to a PDF as well that sort of thing. So it's really, really easy now. There's no ActiveX controls, that sort of thing. As well as there's also additional options now for exporting to different formats. So I can actually export this. If I like these charts and graphs and I want to use them in a PowerPoint presentation, I can export to PowerPoint, as well as some of the other features that were in here before. One of the features that's always been in SRS the last couple of years is a data feed, so you can actually create reports and use it as a data feed for other reports, which is pretty nifty too. A couple other things to highlight in the portal. First thing is you'll see this is a very similar look and feel to Power BI as well, but over here on the right is a little download link where you can download all the tools you need to do your development. So you can download the mobile report publisher for building mobile reports. You can download the report builder, which is what I built this report in, as well as the Power BI desktop, as well as a link to, if you need to download the mobile app for one of your devices, you can go there as well. And then one of the last cool things I want to show as well is if I go back here, let's go back into our Inverge demo. Let's say this is my favorite report and I'm going to run this all the time. I can add this to my favorites by clicking on Add Favorites. So now when I go back to the home screen, I have the favorites icon up here, and here I can list all of my favorite reports that I run all the time. So this is great. So a lot of people, reporting portals start getting very unwieldy with hundreds and hundreds of reports. It would be great if I had my favorite reports here that I can run. So that's a great new feature. One of the other things to point out here is we have very similar still to the same as old SRS with different folders for data sources and data sets, but now there's also a KPIs here as well. So I can create KPIs that I want to stick right on my dashboard or right here on my home page for my web portal and do that. So, and creating KPIs is actually very, very easy. So why don't we go ahead and create another one, because as you'll notice here, this is a KPI. It's green, which is good, but it's showing me 2012, so I want to see my numbers for 2013. So creating a new KPI is very, very easy once you have your data set created. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new KPI by clicking the new button here. And I'm going to call this KPI, let's see, reseller sales for the fiscal year 2013. Okay, and then what we need to do is we're going to change this to abbreviated format, so it's has the K instead of the whole written out number. And now the first thing you need, KPIs usually have three pieces to it. It has the value, what your target is or your goal, and then what the status of that is against that goal. So I already have a shared data set out there that I'm using for this KPI, so all I need to do is select my data set field, go out and pick my data set that I have out there, which is KPI reseller sales. But I'm changing the parameter here now to 2013 instead. And I need the sales, so this is my actual. So I'm taking my actual. Now I need to set my target or my goal. So again, I can use the same KPI or the same data set for the KPI, but this time I want the target number. And then again, for the status, I have another data set field, same shared data set, but this time we'll take the status. And the statuses could be any sort of value where you set a threshold and that sort of thing, will change the colors automatically. One of the key things here too as well is I can also do a trend, and I can show the trend, which is shown over here on the left side or the right side of the KPI. And it's important to note that you can actually combine multiple data sets onto one KPI. So if you had 4 different data sets that you wanted to use for all these different numbers, you could actually do that. So I actually have a different data set for the trend, which is 2013 for the parameter. And I'll select that. And then now what you'll see, you start seeing it reflected over here on the right, or on the left. And you can actually change the look and feel of this KPI as well by selecting these little icons down here. But I'll go ahead and leave it the same. And then if I had a related report I wanted to tie this to, I can actually select that as well. But I won't do that in this place. I'll just create that KPI, And now you see there's my reseller sales. Obviously we're not doing too good because we're down 62%, so it's showing up as red. So let's go jump back to our presentation here. Now, mobile reports. This is one of the exciting things I wanted to kind of cover today, and I'm going to go through a demo of that here in a second to show you how easy it is to make mobile reports. So the first thing is just some of the features of mobile reports. They're very interactive, so you can have drop downs and to do filtering, and then as you select different areas, you'll see all the different parts of your mobile report dashboard change, which is great. Designing it, it's very drag and drop, very easy to do. You can prototype in minutes, so as you're creating the look and feel of the report, the mobile report publisher will actually create simulated data for you, so you can actually see kind of what your report would look like. And then you can customize the layouts in different form factors. So you start with your base main size, which can be used as running those reports from the web portal, but then you can also compress it down to different form sizes for a phone or a tablet based on the height and the width. And then you can consume the mobile reports. The great thing about this is you use one app for both, Power BI and mobile reports from SRS, so you don't have to have two different apps on your phone. You can just have one app. So you can use the same app across Android, iOS, Windows Store as well, and the same app can be used for looking at Power BI and SSRS mobile reports. Native mobile experience optimized for the touch, so as you touch with your fingers, things will change. And then you can keep everything up to date with real-time queries, or it can be refreshed on a scheduled basis. And this is true both for mobile reports and like Power BI stuff. And then the great thing about this as well is there's caching that can be done as well. So if you're disconnected, you get on a plane, you got to go in airplane mode or whatever, you can still run the reports and see what the latest numbers are, analytics based on cache data that's already on your phone. So now let's go ahead and jump in and do a demo of creating a mobile report. Okay, so what I did was I downloaded the mobile report publisher from here. So it's down here on my toolbar, so I will just click on that. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is here is your main layout here that you're going to develop your report on. And as I go over here on the right side, I can have different form factors, phone or tablet, that sort of thing, and I can change these sizes as I want. I can also skin it with different types of color palettes. If you customize your SQL Reporting Services web portal, that would also show up here. So if you created a custom palette for your portal, you could have that palette show up here as well. So for now, I'm going to start with masters. You always have to start with the master layout first. And I'm going to go ahead and start dragging some of these components onto the layout here and start making what my report's going to look like. So the first thing I need to do is get some selection lists. So I'm going to take my selection list here and drag that over here, and this is going to be, so I'm doing basically a sales report or a sales dashboard that we can use. So let's go ahead and just name this sales dashboard. Okay, so back to my selection list. I'm going to want to be able to select the year. I may also want to select the month. Oops, did that not drag across here? Okay. And then I also may want to, let's see, I'm going to need quantity as well. So I'm going to select a number and put that there, and then I'm going to make this a little bigger. So this is going to be quantity. And then I'm also going to want maybe to see a performance KPI. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my thermometer here and make a performance KPI down here. And I'll just drag that, make the size of that, and we'll call this one performance. And then I'm also going to want to see a chart showing my monthly sales. So I'm going to select a category chart and drag that over here. And we'll just make that 4 by 5. And this will be monthly sales, month sales. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to see a heat map based on the United States of where my sales are. So we're going to go ahead and grab a gradient heat map and drag that over here. And we'll make that this big. So now this will be our sales, state sales, state sales, state sales. There we go. All right. And that's there. So now if I were to preview this, it is automatically going to simulate data for me. So I can go in here now and select this and see how things will change. So I kind of see how it's kind of going to look. So I kind of go, okay, I think this is the right look and feel I'm going for. But now I need to bind it to my data. So I click on the data here, and what you'll see is there's already 3 sets of data sets loaded. And I can actually, if I wanted to, from a developer perspective, I could actually export this data set out. I could repopulate it with maybe more actual data that I wanted to and import it back in and use that for my development before I've even written any stored procedures or SQL statements or anything like that to pull my data. But I've already have some shared data sets. Again, I have a shared data set up on the reporting portal, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. So here's my reseller sales data set, so I'm going to pull that in. And then one other thing I need is for my KPI, for my performance indicator here, I need targets. I need to know what my target is. So I actually have that on an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that in as well. So now I have all my data sets in there. Now what I need to do is go through, and on each one of these little components is I need to bind it to the data. So let's go ahead and start with year. So we're going to change year. We can do this pretty quickly here. Change my filtering criteria on the right. I'm going to have year. We'll go to month. And again, we'll select reseller sales. We're going to select month now instead for both of these. And when we go into options here, we want to make sure year is selected because we want to filter the months by the year that I selected previously in the previous drop down. Actually, let me make sure I did that on the other one as well. Okay, now we go into our performance. So in our performance, we're going to use, again, we're going to use our reseller sales data, but this time we're going to look at our sales instead of quantity. And then for our comparison value, this is where we need our target. So we grab our target there. We go into month sales. And again, we're going to want our sales. By month. And we're going to want to look at sales, not quantity here, so we'll uncheck that. And then when we go in, we just need to uncheck our month there. Okay, so now the next piece is, what did I forget here? So we got month sales, we got state sales. We're going to need, again, our this is our map, so we need our state and sales. Okay, and I think I got everything, right? Okay. So now if I preview this, this is actually my actual data. Pulling from my shared data set. You can see the years changed here, and you can see all the data is going to change. So now this is great. So now the next thing is now that I previewed it, it looks great. That's my main report, but now I need to make this for a mobile phone. So now all I need to do is go over here and change my form factor to mobile phone. And now I can just start dragging these over here. I don't have to bind them. I've already binded these, so that's good. So we're going to put that one there, that one there. We're going to add in, let's see, the quantity one here. And then we'll add in, let's see, what else should we do? We should do our performance. And then we'll add in our monthly sales. And we'll just make this one big. So now I can preview that. And it kind of previews it in a simulated phone. Again, I can change my numbers and you'll see everything gets updated. So now once I'm done with that, I just need to save it up to my web portal. So we'll just click save here. We're going to save it to our server. Let's go. We need to go up. Let's see. We'll browse. And we'll put it under our mobile reports here. And then now that this is up on the web portal, it'll be available to your iPhone app if you have it, and everything's connected, working with your server and the internet and all that sort of thing. But now if I go back up here and I go to home, I can go into my mobile reports and our sales dashboard right here. So this is the sales dashboard as it would be seen from obviously from a computer, from a desktop. And again, it all just magically works, which is great. So that's doing mobile reports. So let's go ahead and jump back into the slide deck here. I got you guys for about another 20 minutes. Let's see if I can get through some of this other stuff. Power BI. So the biggest challenges with with SQL reporting services and on-premise stuff, it used to be mobile was one of the big ones, but still the biggest thing about SQL reporting services is the ability to actually do analytics. You still can't do a ton of analytics when you make your own reports. It's still pretty static. You make the reports. Yeah, we can kind of make them a little bit more interactive now with the mobile report publisher, but I still want to be able to answer more questions. And as an end user, I may not get all the questions I need answered when somebody makes me a report that's pretty static for the most part. So this is where the power of Power BI comes in, because it's really a great cloud-based analytic tool that lets you the ability to actually get into data, drill into it, move around and really easily explore your data. And it's also really easy once you have those shared data sets published up to the cloud. It's nothing more than a drag drop to actually create new reports. So it's fast and easy. 360 view of your business, because with Power BI you can combine data from multiple sources, whether it's software as a service, Microsoft CRM, Salesforce, to your line of business, Dynamics GP, maybe NetSuite, line of business app, a warehouse app, all that kind of stuff, Excel. So really you can get a 360-degree view of everything, of all your data. And data discovery exploration, so it really gives you the ability to dive into your data more and explore and see what the values are and why. And then from any device. So that exploration and discovery you can do from anywhere. You can do it from a tablet, from a phone, from your laptop. So it's really, really, really great. And then the other great thing is there's collaboration in Power BI. So you can have you have groups, you can share your dashboards, you can share, you can actually create, if you had a whole series of reports, data sets, and dashboards all put together, you can make a collaboration pack essentially, where you can save that collaboration pack and then somebody can use that collaboration pack themselves and deploy it. Microsoft has a lot of those, actually canned as well, that we can use. So here's kind of the layout, the overall layout of Power BI. You can kind of see it's broken out on the left here with data sets, reports, and dashboards. This here showing is a dashboard with lots of KPIs and charts and graphs, which is terrific, and you can drill into them and manipulate them. And as well as reports, very, very similar. And the thing about reports that's really nice, you have tabs along the bottom with multiple reports on a report, multiple pages of the report. But as you select different areas of a report, the other charts and graphs will update based on your selection criteria. So it really gives you that ability to explore. And we'll show that here in a second in the demo. On Power BI, there's more visualizations than are available on SQL reporting services. So these are just a few of them. And the great thing about it is they just work. You just plug in the values and the axes and the categories and things like that, and it all just magically works, especially the maps. The maps are terrific. It kind of knows what states and countries are and it'll automatically work for you. And then they also introduced one of the great things is a custom visualization gallery. So basically it's sourced by the community, so people will make their own own visualizations, and they publish them up to a library out on Microsoft that you can download and try different types of visualizations. So people are making their own, and there's an SDK for that. So if you had to do maybe a layout of an office or a layout of a store, and you wanted to kind of highlight things in the store based on data, on BI data, you could do that. You can make your own visualization. So it's really, really cool, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing every month. So people keep adding to it and adding to it. One of the awesome features that I love, one of my favorite features, is basically natural language queries. So basically, you can ask questions of your data. You may not have built the chart yet. You may not have built the graph, but you realize your data set's up there. You can actually ask questions of your data, and it will return what it thinks the best chart or graph is to answer your question for that data. So here is, what is the average cost per trip by region of the travel? Boom, it shows up and gives you kind of here's a bar chart that hopefully answers that question. So we'll go into that a little bit too. And the other thing they've done as well now is they've linked in Cortana, all this stuff too. So now you can not only type it in, but you could ask Cortana, and Cortana will return the information, which is really cool. So obviously collaboration is big, so you can do things like have groups where groups own data sets, reports, dashboards. So if you have a finance group and they need to have their finance reports as opposed to the sales group, you can kind of differentiate between those two. Microsoft also comes with a bunch of different content packs that are out of the box. So for example, there's one for Microsoft CRM. So you can get up and running with Power BI and Microsoft CRM Online within minutes using the out-of-the-box content pack. And it's basically easy to just create content packs. Once you make all of your reports, you just go in and select your dashboards, reports, and data sets that you want to include in that content pack. And then you can also create groups really easily. So it's a very, very easy interface. And again, just to reiterate, Power BI as well can be used from any device, iPhone. Some of the other cool things are you can also set up alerts as well. So if you have a KPI or a metric that you want to keep track of, maybe when it gets to a certain threshold, you can actually set up alerts on your phone to alert you that you reached something, which is very cool. And then when we talk about developing Power BI things, there's a number of different downloads you want to become familiar with. So Power BI Desktop is a tool for developing reports. Not always required. You can actually use PowerBI.com to develop reports as well. If your data set's already there, or you're connecting to a software as a service. But Power BI Desktop gives you that ability to actually not only create the reports, but you can model the data, use things like Power Query, Power Pivot, things like that, and model your data down and combine data from multiple sources. Once you get that data set created, it's just nothing more than a drag and drop, WYSIWYG kind of development of your reports and dashboards. The data gateway is important for any time you want to connect to your on-premise data. There are some data will be synchronized with PowerBI.com, where it'll be uploaded on a scheduled basis and kept up to date in the cloud. Other times you have live feeds into your data. So for example, SQL Server Analysis Services has a live connection. So if I make a PowerBI.com report using an analysis cube or a tabular model type of thing, and analysis services, it will be a live feed to that data and present the data up in the cloud in the reports. Power BI Publisher for Excel. So this is an add-in to Excel. The cool thing about this is you don't have to redo everything you've done in Excel. So if you already have lots of dashboards and little charts and graphs in Excel that you've already used and you're already populating, you can actually just publish that chart or graph up to Power BI with Power BI Publisher, which is great. So then you can pin it up to your dashboard. And then if you have that Excel spreadsheet saved up on OneDrive, you can then actually drill right from the chart into your spreadsheet in Excel Online, which is really cool. Analyze in Excel updates. So Analyze Excel is another tool. So think about it from the other way around. If you had a shared data set that's up in PowerBI.com and you want to start doing stuff in Excel with that data set, doing your own pivot tables and charts and graphs, you can actually, from within PowerBI.com, use Analyze in Excel and it'll create an ODC, an OData connect, basically a connector up to PowerBI.com, so then you can pull that data into Excel and then start manipulating it and making reports. And of course, the Power BI mobile app is the other key one. So if you want to look at charts and graphs on your phone, you want to get the app, as well as the one from the Microsoft Store as well. So keeping all your data current, again, there's live queries with the data connector, as well as scheduled refreshes. These are two important pieces. So live connectivity, automatic and scheduled refreshes, that sort of thing. So just to give a quick overview, you've got PowerBI.com in the cloud. You have SQL analysis services and databases, maybe feed into PowerBI.com. This is your on-premise data. Then you might have the Microsoft cloud, so that could be an Azure database, Office 365, Microsoft CRM Online, also Dynamics ERP that's going to be coming out, that sort of stuff, as well as any other software as a service application that Microsoft's supporting. But also if they have an OData feed, that works as well. As well as you can have your different tools for doing analytics, so Excel or Power BI Desktop. And then to deploy it either to a web browser or they do it from a mobile app or a tablet device. So that's just the kind of high-level overview of Power BI. So now let's go ahead and get into a quick demo. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of give you the lay of the land here of Power BI and show you how cool it is to run these reports. So as you can see on the left here, we have three different areas. We have data sets, we have reports, and we have dashboards. So a data set is used obviously for reports. So your reports will be based off of one data set. But then your dashboards can be a combination of things from multiple different places. So you can pin different objects from different reports onto one dashboard, that sort of thing. And then from the dashboard, you can actually drill into what that report was. So let's look at this customer profitability example here. If I click on an area, let's say, oops, actually that was my dashboard. Let's jump back into my report. Go back and show you dashboards in a minute. If I look at a report, you can see here they're very interactive. So I can highlight on things, I can see what the values are. If I select an executive on the slicer, everything will automatically update. You see I have my KPIs up here. And as I select, these will all change. I also have options over here to do additional filtering if I need to. But it's all very WYSIWYG, very drag and drop, very just use your mouse and just start exploring. Multiple pages as well, so each report can have multiple pages. So again, I can pick my industry, and you'll see it's very interactive, and that sort of thing. So now, also, any of these things can also be pinned to a dashboard as well. So if I wanted to pin this up to a dashboard that I like, I can actually click the pin button and select my dashboard that I want to pin it to. But let's jump into one of these dashboards that are already up here. Customer profitability. As you can see, there's already a lot of things pinned on here. And what will happen is as you look at this dashboard, you can actually drill into any of these items and drill into the originating report. So if I click on gross margin or number of products, it will drill into whatever the source of that was. The source could be an Excel spreadsheet, like here. If I drill into this, it's going into my Excel Online, where I have an Excel spreadsheet that I've published a chart up to the cloud. So there's my chart that's in Excel. So this is just an Excel workbook, but I've actually published that chart up to my dashboard. One of the other cool features to show was the whole asking a question. So I can say, there's already some examples here in this sample, but I can say, total revenue, And as you can see, it's got a little bit of IntelliSense that helps you a little bit for different areas. So I can say total revenue by customer, and it'll automatically show that. And then if I decide I want to save this, I can, that sort of thing. So as we're starting to wrap up here, I want to get into some real quick building one. So I'm going to go ahead and over here I have my Power BI desktop. And one of the things is I've already developed a simple report. This is based off a Dynamics GP view, sales line items in Dynamics GP. And in here I have my different salespeople, so I can filter the report based on my salespeople. And down here I have a little report that shows me the item number, the quantity, extended price, and extended cost. And one of the cool things about Power BI Desktop is you can actually get in there and you can actually model your data. So from within here, I can add additional metrics, columns, I can tie in additional tables, that sort of thing. And one of the things I have, as you'll notice here, is I don't have any sort of gross margin. So if I come and search my fields, I have no margin field if I wanted to see, the difference between these two. So I can easily add that by coming into my data set here, adding a new measure, and this should come up. So I'm going to call this, we'll just call this margin. Oops, change my. And then I know I'm going to want to do extended price minus cost, so I'm going to do extended. And as you can see, it actually has some IntelliSense built into it, so I'll just pick that one. And I knew my other one was cost. So again, I can come down here and now select cost, hit return. So now I've just added margin to this data set. And as I go back to my main chart here, if I search over here now in my data set for margin, there's my new field with my capital A. I can drag that over to this, and now I'll have margin in here as well. So now once I have all these, I can publish all this up to Power BI. Let's say if I wanted to have another metric, so here on the second page I made a little KPI for total sales. If I wanted to have total margin as well, I could drag that over here. It comes up with the bar graph, but I want to change that. Here's all my visualizations. I can click on that, which is the card. Stick that up there, and now here's already a second page of my report. So now I can publish, so I'm going to go ahead and publish this up to Power BI. So just take a second, it's actually pushing up all that data as well. So now here's my report that I just created in Power BI Desktop. Everything's there. Now some of the other cool things are, so on my page 2 here I had these two little KPIs. I can easily pin these to a dashboard, so I can pin this. Let's go ahead and pin this to my Dynamics GP dashboard. So now I have a Dynamics GP dashboard with that metric. Click on it, drills back to the report. I can also ask a question of that data set. So sales, actually let's do a total margin by sales person. And it automatically created one for me. So here's my total margin. This is one of the coolest features because I haven't even done anything. I just pushed the data set up there, but it figured out by looking at the columns and the data types what I was asking, and automatically gave me a chart here. So a couple other things just to wrap up real quick. I just wanted to show you in Excel basically a simple pivot table here showing a chart. I can easily publish things up to Power BI. So I can pin something to Power BI. So Actually, I think I already had the tile up there, but we're going to add a tile. And I can say, hey, what workspace do I want to go to? What dashboard? So we'll just pin that up there. And then as I wrap up here, we can go back and show my GP dashboard. And now you'll see here's that one I just pinned from that Excel, which is great. So kind of running short of time, so I do want to check to see if anybody had any questions. And one of the big questions is, do you need any programming experience to work in Power BI Desktop? And really, it really comes down to getting the data set. So wherever your data is coming from, some data sources are simpler than others. So for example, if I'm in Power BI Desktop and I needed to connect to a data source that's Microsoft CRM Online, that sort of thing, you have to have your credentials, and then you just have to pick your tables and that sort of thing. Beyond that, if you're hitting a line of business application like maybe Dynamics GP, you might need know a little bit about the data set and the data, just bind the data to your reports. So sometimes you need a little help with that. But the beauty of it is you can now just go to your IT department and say, hey, just put up a shared data set for sales, put up a shared data set for inventory, and then you can leverage that shared data set and create all sorts of different reports off that one data set. So with that, I just want to wrap up here with a couple finishing slides. So to summarize real quick, you can analyze and author in Excel, Power BI Desktop. You got Mobile Report Publisher, Report Builder, Visual Studio, SQL Data Tools. So these are all of your authoring tools, whether you're a developer or just a business person who just wants to make some simple reports. You got delivery, which is basically SQL reporting services as your on-premises. So paginator reports, your typical kind of tabular reports. Power BI Desktop to do some charts and graphs, mobile reports for mobile reporting, but also the cloud. You can push some of this stuff up to the cloud as well. And again, up in the cloud, you can do this even more analytics and really tie dashboards together. Then as you push them over to the web portal, and consume everything up there, as well as consume from all these different devices, consume from the web portal, and consume from SharePoint. So Microsoft's really starting to tie all these things together across all these different devices and applications. Even Dynamics GP, for example, now has Power BI built into it, so you can actually see reporting right in Great Plains, for example, or Dynamics GP. So a couple things about Power BI. It's actually free. You can use it for free. You can get started for free. Really the place where it starts costing money is either the amount of data that you're going to use, or if you want to have more of a real full interactivity with live data sources, that's where you have to have the Pro version. This is kind of part of your Office 365. As well as collaboration. That's where you have to pay for it. But I definitely encourage everybody to get started with the free version and just try it out. I mean, if you have to go every day into Power BI and sync manually or whatever, you can do that. But it's just such a great tool to get in and start playing with, and you'd be surprised at how fast you can make reports. So getting started quickly, sign up in seconds. You got lots of pre-built content packs, so anybody who's on CRM Online, as you can see here, there's some different ones for Sage and AX and things like that out there. Get you started real quick because it already automatically have dashboards, reports, and data models and things like that. And then you can just start getting into it. So with that, I thank everybody for joining me. I crammed a lot into an hour. Typically, SQL reporting services or Power BI may be a session on its own. But if anybody ever has questions and wants to have a little more tailored demo for you, please definitely reach out to me. I'd love to spend some time with you and just go over some of these tools with you in more detail, because I just brushed the surface. But again, thank you all so much, and have a great weekend.